Hello and welcome back to the Talk and Tech Showcase stage. We've got our next session with Anthony from EDGE2, which is a facility showcase on the topic of EDGE2, AI-ready data centers to future-proof your business in Indonesia. So Anthony, I'll hand over to you for your presentation, and then we'll come back for a little Q&A. Thank you.
Thanks, Audrey. Can you all hear my voice through the mic? Cheers. Good afternoon, everyone. Just a quick introduction. I hope all of you guys had your lunch and happy to present here today in this beautiful Bali. Just a quick intro. So my name is Anthony. I'm working for EDGE2, and data center is a relatively new industry for me, and I've been working in EDGE for the last 3 years, but previously I was working for a few different industries. But it's definitely a very interesting journey, especially there's a lot of industry experts and people who've been working in this industry for a long time that has helped me. So the people are really friendly in this industry, and that's why I think it's one of the reasons why this is probably the longest company I've been working for. So previously I was working for AirAsia, Macquarie, and GE in different functions, and then this is my first IT role. So if there is any things regarding any questions about myself after the session, we can have a quick chat over coffee or something. So just to give an outline in terms of our corporate structure. So where I am is I'm working on the HDC side, which is on the most bottom. So we are a data center focused company, and mainly on the downtown Jakarta side. As you know, there's quite a bit of clusters for data center right now, growing clusters in Jakarta, mainly on the east side as well as some on the west side. So we are focusing on the central side. So we've been established since 2018, and we currently operate 2 sites. And we are 100% subsidiary of Indonet. So Indonet is actually a network service providers. They're actually the first commercial ISP. So in terms of the services, they are mainly focused on the network side, as well as they have some cloud computing as one of Alibaba's key reseller partners for Indonesia. And last but not least, Indonet is invested by Digital Edge. So Digital Edge is a pan-Asian data center platform that invests in emerging markets, and they are backed by Stonepeak. So that's just a quick run through on the corporate structure side. So going into the topic of discussion today, AI, right? Maybe the first thing I want to establish is I'm by no means an AI expert, but I thought it will be an interesting topic from the data center point of view, right? The way we see AI is obviously on the IT infrastructure side, right? Obviously, AI GPU chips itself is the hardware as well as the application layer and how all the use cases all tied up. And from my point of view is that AI, the GPU chips deployment are essentially a baby, right? So in order for us to be able to fully utilize their function and capability, you need to feed in a lot of data. And the more data point, the more iteration that it processes, they are able to provide solutions that will then flow down to the use cases, right? And the GPUs that AI uses, they consume a lot of power, and for them to be able to compute a large amount of computing power to analyze a large amount of data. So basically, it creates this shift in the technology whereby we are able to solve some of the world's biggest problem through automated machine learning, as well as by feeding in the data points that otherwise wouldn't be able to be done in the past, right? So some of the use cases, and again, this comes down to once whoever utilize the computing power, feed in the right set of information, finding a use cases to actually be applied to the real world. But some of them includes smart city through IoTs. Some are being utilized in fintech, right? And obviously in automation, these days we do see a lot of manufacturing that utilizes highly automated process for their manufacturing, and and many more. So I guess the stretch of imagination for how AI can be useful to us, it's really up to whoever is the users. So going into the trend, I think in the past few years, there's a huge shift into adopting this application into, especially on the tech company. So I think the best way to refer to the trend, I guess, is from these two diagram on my right. So one is the projected growth of the AI market from Statista, which seen in the last from 2020 to 2030, it's projected to grow almost 4 to 5 times, right? And obviously, the big the big AI brand right now is NVIDIA, which is as of, again, these data points through their market cap, I take it from the from last week. So they are by in terms of the growth, in terms of the hype, right? As they are undisputedly the leader in the AI hardware and the world's most valuable company. And I think they are able to achieve that by being superior compared to their competitors. But again, this also inspires other tech companies to work on more advanced chips in order to be part of the race. So this is just some of the trend we can see about AI adoption and how much interest has it generated over the last few years, and potentially in the next few years as well. So going back to Digital Edge, right? Where our main data center platform. So Indonesia is one of the developing market that they operate in, but they also invested in other countries, including China, India, Japan, Korea, and Philippines. And the platform-wide, we do see a huge demand for AI requirements. And as we grow the platform through acquisition as well as building new sites. So we do have some ongoing retrofit as well as a building site designed to specifically support such deployment, right? And we do have some AI deployments in some of the countries that we operated in. So in going forward, I think as our where we see the demand is for higher density racks, for similar kinds of deployments. So all of the design is based on this particular trend, and I will simplify it to 3 trends, again, which are relevant from the data center operator perspective. So maybe just skipping this slide, and I'll go back to that later. So I think the 3 main trends for us operators, at least from the IT infrastructure side, is scalability, cooling, and sustainability. And I guess these are quite relevant in terms of how we at least in Indonesia, how we decide to go with our 2 sites. So going back to the previous slide. So we started operation in 2021 with our first data center. It's called EDGE2, right? It's a relatively small site. Our thesis is to provide an interconnection POP in downtown, and I think we were pretty fortunate because the timing was at the peak of COVID. There's not much resources in downtown Jakarta, and we were able to support a lot of the CDN deployment, cloud deployment, as well as some enterprise services. But now that we are pretty much sold out our first site, when we are considering to build our second site, we do have this trend in mind where I think we do need to support a bigger footprint as well as a higher density load in line with the trend of the market. So going back to the requirements, I think I'll highlight the relevancy for these three particular AI related requirements. So first is probably scalability, right? And I think most of you will probably have an idea that there's a lot of power required to power these GPUs. So when we do decide to build our second site, we have that scalability in mind, right? So it's designed to support 4 times the IT load and 3 times the number of racks, right? The obviously the footprint is not linear because we do see that as time goes, more higher density IT load requirement will be required per rack basis. So that's why we decide to increase the IT load more than the number of quantity of the racks, right? And the deployment size and based on our personal experience and some of the inquiries we had over the last 12 months, it can vary between 1 to 10 megawatt with a lot of scalability reserved in the future. So scale is definitely one of the key considerations, because if you have a data center of say 1 megawatt or 500 kilowatt for network POP, just for interconnection, you can't possibly accommodate the kind of requirements that this AI workload will require. In terms of scale itself, you'll pretty much have to sell the whole resources in order for you to fit in their requirements. So that's one of the things I think should be the main point. Obviously, we need a bigger IT load for us as data center operator to support AI deployment. So second is regarding the cooling, right? Because there's a huge amount of processing power required to power up these GPUs, right? And conventional, I think in the past when I work on enterprise or financial services or even like network interconnectivity, you're looking at between 2 to 6 kilowatt on per rack basis. But these days, and again, we do see quite similar requirements in terms of they need, in general, minimum of 10 kilowatt per racks for deployment, as well as some going up to 20 kilowatt, depending on how many GPU servers they are putting on the rack basis. So that's where I think cooling is definitely a key consideration. And for us, operators, providing the service to our customers, commercial consideration will definitely be a huge consideration for the customers, for them to deploy in your site. So having a very efficient cooling system will help, designed to have a lower PUE will help in terms of the commercial PUE, whereby utilizing less power to power out higher density racks. Overall, you can pass back the savings back to the customers. So for our second site, there is a bit of a difference. There's a bit of changes and advancement that we apply on the cooling side. So one is we're utilizing non-raised floor and using a hot aisle containment. Second is we are utilizing a SPLC system, which is a state point liquid cooling, whereas for EDGE2, because of the smaller footprint, we are utilizing more of a conventional DX or direct cooling system. So overall, in terms of the PUE, I think for our 2 sites, I think there is a significant reduction, and I think that's one of the main reason that we can support that AI deployment. So next is, last but not least, of course, is in terms of sustainability. Obviously, sustainability is a big word in terms of for data center operators, and there are a lot of from our platform perspective, it is one of our key corporate social responsibility. So the design PUE that we have for EDGE2 is under 1.3 at full load, and we are on track to achieve LED Gold. But other than that, following a bit of the footprint that we have for EDGE2, we are also providing the option for renewable energy certificate for our second site, and we are looking at ways at how we can provide we can um, be a provider that also cares about the environment. So this is actually one of the key pillars that is emphasized throughout all of the data center in the Digital Edge platform, and obviously it's an ongoing process. It's not just a one-time thing. So I think for us, those are the three considerations in terms of AI deployments as a data center operator. And last but not, what we'll do is we'll give some introduction for the video, just to give a bit of visual in terms of our second site. Please enjoy. So maybe to conclude, right, from our data center, as a data center point of view, we play a significant role in terms of this trend of AI, because at the end of the day, they will need to put the chips, the GPU in a data center environment in order to provide the space and power. So the key consideration is for data center operators is to understand at least the general requirement for how they can accommodate the requirements of AI, not only just for the short term, but also in the long term. Like we do have a lot of very how will I say it? We do have very qualified, cooling vendors as well as partners who can probably have a chat with you regarding the cooling design, some of the trends they are looking like. Recently I heard that the new NVIDIA chips can deploy up to 100 kilowatt per rack. So some of these they are very forward thinking, and I think it's important for us as operators to see as well how we can support such deployment in a way that is sustainable, right? Whether it's renewable energy, whether it's deploying a efficient cooling system, as we want to be a responsible corporate, and I do believe that this trend is not going anytime soon. So that concludes my presentation. Appreciate all of you guys who participate, and hope it's been an interesting topic. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. So we've got a bit of time for a Q&A session. So if anyone would like to ask Anthony a question, please raise your hand and we'll give you a microphone. In the meantime, Anthony, I've got a couple of questions for you. Why don't we start with how do you see the demand for AI deployment in Asia, and specifically in Indonesia?
Thanks, Audrey. I think, in general, Asia is still a developing market compared to the Europe or even the U.S. and China. So I think there's still a lot of room for Asia to develop. Indonesia in the last 12 months, from my personal experience, there are a lot of inquiries. There are growing number of inquiries for similar deployment. So I think relating back to my presentation, I think one of the main consideration why these projects or requirements are interested in Indonesia is the availability of power and land bank, which is obviously key to support and looking at the trend of having a lot of regional data center operators coming in, bringing their expertise, it's also a good sign that there is a growing interest in Indonesia, particularly Jakarta, and I do believe the trend will keep going up in line with the rest of the Asia market.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you. And my next question to you is, what are some of the key considerations that data center operators in Indonesia should explore in view of the growing demand for AI deployment?
Okay, so I think one of the requirement definitely for the way I see data center is a real estate project, right? It's quite similar to finding a location and building your facility. So one of the key consideration if they were to look into building something for AI requirements is finding a land bank that has a huge footprint, but most importantly as well to ensure that whatever land bank that they're looking will be able to have access to electricity, significant amount of power and electricity. They, in general, Indonesia have the state-owned electricity provider (PLN), but there are certain areas they also have private operators, and obviously, I think Indonesia is also quite blessed with renewable energy resources, whether it's geothermal or solar or hydro. So I think like if DC operators are looking to expand into Indonesia, I think one of the main consideration is definitely finding a location with access to huge amount of power and ideally renewable. But again, at the end of the day, it's hard to get all of those three. But I mean, these are what I think will be good
Yep.
to consider.
Absolutely, thank you very much. And my last question for you today is, what are some of the potential use cases for AI for Indonesia that can be explored?
Interesting, Audrey. So I think I can probably relate more to Jakarta since I'm staying in Jakarta. So I think like by having AI powered application, by analyzing the traffic, creating a smart city, I think it can help with traffic management for sure. I know there's a lot of effort from our government to build public transportation system in Jakarta as one of the probably the biggest commercial hub for Indonesia. So I think like being able to utilize those kind of technology to better manage the traffic, it will create a lot of reduce waiting time, less traffic, less pollution. So I mean these are just some examples. The other example is probably applicable to more on the financial industry,
Yep.
right? I mean, Indonesia as a developing country, we have a growing middle class population. So financing and banking is one of the industry that is primed to grow in the next few years. So, utilizing the capability of AI, to do credit scoring, credit checks, I think it will help a lot with, having a healthy balance of, the targeting the right person for the right kind of financial product. So I mean, these are just some of the example I see and the opportunity we have, particularly for Indonesia. Yeah.
Brilliant, Anthony. Thank you very much. Do you have any last words for us today before we wrap up?
Thanks for all who participate the session. I hope it's some useful information. If you are interested to understand a bit more, we can catch up after this. So appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. Thank you, Anthony.